it was just on for a long time, and I think that's probably the biggest reason why people saw it. They'd just be flipping through the channels, and eventually they'd stop and look at it and be like, "Oh, it's this quiz in English," and then they'd change channel. Yeah.
Those were some hard questions that you guys gave out.
There were some difficult questions, and we had some very, very bright kids on that program. And over the course of the program, over the course of the years, you could see the level of English getting better because these are the kids, and so they're at sort of ground zero as far as English education. So I saw it in that period of time how much better the level of English got over the course of the 6-7 years that I did that show. You know, I've done radio, TV, I MC events occasionally, and then lately my newest sort of side job has been I manage, or I'm the agent for a couple of professional mixed martial artists.
Oh, yes. Please share with that. And I've seen some pictures.
There's a picture back here. Yeah, right
what's
here.
that picture? Please explain about that picture.
Well, here I'm doing an interview. I'm translating for one of my fighters who is a very popular fighter right now in the UFC in the United States. His name is Jung Chan-sung, and he's known as the Korean Zombie. He is the number one contender right now in his weight division for the championship, and this was after his his first fight, his debut fight in the United States. He had been fighting in Japan mostly, and some in Korea, and this was right after the press conference after his first fight in the U.S. And so he's one of the guys that I deal with most, and Korean Top Team is the team that I work with, and we have. We just recently signed our third UFC fighter, and so just to put it in context, there are 5 UFC fighters in Korea, and 3 of them are guys that I handle.
Wow. Now, how did that come about? How did you get into that realm of being from, you know, going into acting, modeling, and emceeing, hosting, and then this, you know, kind of handling the agency?
Yeah, it was very sort of random. I had always, when I was younger, I had always wanted to learn martial arts, and I always had an interest in it. But I didn't, because I grew up in a place where there were very few Asians. And so I wasn't particularly proud of my Korean heritage and things like that. It was sort of tough in that regard, growing up in the middle of Ohio, and so one of the reasons I didn't take martial arts was because I kind of didn't want to be the stereotypical Asian kid doing martial arts, so I just sort of avoided it. But then as I got older, you go to school and you're just busy, and it's hard to make time to do that sort of thing. And so I kept thinking, well, this is something I want to do eventually. It's something I'd like to do. And then about 7 years ago, I decided, okay, I really want to learn a martial art. And at the time I was very busy. I was doing like, I think 3 TV shows and a radio show at the time. 2 radio shows actually.
Wow.
And so I quit them all, and I went to Thailand to learn Muay Thai, which is like kickboxing basically. I did that for 3 months. And then when I came back to Korea, I got involved. I started training at a mixed martial arts school, gym, and that's how I got involved with these guys, because one of the kid that whose picture we saw earlier, he was just a real nice kid. I had seen him around the gym for years. He was there all day long, every day. He'd be cleaning up and doing all sorts of stuff, and I just became friendly with him. And when he first signed to fight in the United States, I wanted to help him out, just because he's such a good kid. And so I helped find out about sponsors first, and then eventually they asked me to do, you know, help communicate with the organization in the U.S., and it just grew and grew, and it became what it is.
I mean, it's remarkable, I think, in Korea, because you're a natural native English speaker, you're able to be a person with many hats, definitely, in all kinds of roles. Do you think this is true?
It's absolutely true. It's the sort of thing that if you have the ability to speak English here in Korea, and I think this is true of many countries, non-English speaking countries in the world these days, it gives you a leg up. It gives you something extra that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And I think in particular when I first came, which was, like I said, about 14 years ago, 13 years, I guess, there weren't as many native English speakers around.
Sure.
And so there were even more opportunities back then, and so it was easier for me to sort of get my foot in the door and get started.
Yeah. You know, just suddenly out of nowhere, also it came to my mind. I remember, you know, we've always crossed paths on different shows, but we've actually had done something together. We were in Jeju, I think, hosting a program together in Uchibong, right?
Yeah. We did
right,
a New Year's Eve show. So we were out there. It was freezing cold. Jeju is beautiful in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's basically a rock in the middle of the ocean. It was cold, it was snowing, it was windy, and we were out there for about 4 hours, I believe.
Yeah.
So we were freezing, but it was a lot of fun, and I think that was the first time we worked together.
Yeah, so it just hit me out of nowhere. You know, all this time we've seen each other crossing paths, that we actually did that event. It was, amazingly cold, but it was one of those things when my broadcasting career will be over, I look back and say, wow, that was memorable.
Yeah.
That was what we say in Korean, definitely 고생했는데 기억을 했어요.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
But it was definitely fun, and it was, I actually had managed, because most broadcasting stations do a live broadcast on New Year's Eve.
That's right.
To ring in the new year. And I had actually always managed to avoid those sorts of things because I was usually in the States with my family, and I had never done one before. And so that was actually the first time I had done a New Year's Eve broadcast. So that was fun.
That was fun, and I think Danny Jung joined us, and it was so cold we had to put the heater on the stage and things like this.
Yeah, I was very impressed that he was able to play his saxophone, because he played for quite a while, and his hands must have been freezing, and the saxophone must have been really cold too. So, but it was an impressive performance by him.
It was memorable, and a lot of meat we ate before going into that show. Now, I also want to harp a little bit about your acting career. You've done a few movies in Korea, I understand.
Yeah, and to say that I've done a couple of movies is kind of maybe a bit of an overstatement. I've briefly appeared in a couple of movies in Korea.
Okay. Well, that's a start.
Well, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, when I first came to Korea, I wanted to get into acting. That was my thing. And so